Okay, a few weeks ago we did a 2-Minute Tuesday all about the Notary, who they are, what they are, why they're such an important part of the real estate process here in Spain. And so this then led on to the video that we're doing today, which is when we complete a sale of a property and the buyer and the seller go to the Notary, what actually happens when you're in the Notary office. So welcome to this week's episode of 2-Minute Tuesday, where we have a sort of a behind the scenes look at what happens at the Notary office on the day of completion. So if you're sat in my car on the day of completion, you're obviously lucky enough to have either bought your dream villa here in Spain, or you've sold your villa and we're about to complete the sale. So what we're going to do in the video is run through a typical scenario, a typical day when we complete the sale. Every sale is going to be slightly different, but this will just give you an idea of what to expect, what happens when we're on our day at the Notary to complete the property sale. So most notary appointments we tend to make them around about 11 o'clock in the morning. And this is a nice social hour to do everything. It also means that we have the opportunity to all meet at the villa that is being sold. So it gives the buyers and the sellers a chance to reacquaint themselves with each other, because it could have been a couple of months ago that they met initially. It also gives the buyers the opportunity to check the property over, make sure that everything that they've agreed that is part of the sale, so things like furniture and maybe garden equipment and furniture, things like that, are all still in situ. The property is as it was promised to be left on the day of sale. So it gives the buyer and the seller the opportunity to say, yep, everything is great and it's as we agreed, so that there are no problems when we are actually at the notary's office itself. And then what we generally try to do is we then jump in a couple of cars, drive up to the notary. We try and get there normally maybe 15 or 20 minutes early. And the reason that we do that is there's a really nice coffee shop next to, or just down the road from the Notary. So we'll go and sit in the coffee shop and have a coffee. I'll collect the passports or the ID cards for the buyers and sellers, their NIE numbers, the certificates. I'll then walk them up to the Notary to give them to the lawyers or the administration staff there, and then come back and have a coffee. And what we find is that although it's a happy occasion, when such huge amounts of money are involved, there is nerves and there are stress, and maybe people haven't had a good night's sleep before the Notary. And although I do this every day, I am aware from when I've been buying and selling properties myself that it can be a little stressful, buying a property in a foreign country in a foreign language. So just by sitting down and having a cup of coffee and a nice relaxed chat and talking about bits and bobs, it sort of relieves the stress. I'll generally then get a WhatsApp from the lawyer saying to come up to the notary's office. We will then walk up to the notary's office, which is about a minute away, and then normally if there are a lawyer representing the buyer and a lawyer representing the seller, the two parties split, go off into a room with their own lawyers. And then the lawyers will translate the documents, because this is a process that's done entirely in Spanish. So the escritura will be translated for the buyer, so that they know this is the property that they are buying. It's free of any fines, debts, infractions, demolition orders. There are no tenants. There's nothing that would prejudice the sale against them. And exactly the same for the vendor. Their lawyer will run through and explain about the money and all the bits and bobs. And then when everybody is happy, we'll go and sit in the boardroom or the conference room, and the notary will come in, and then the whole thing will be done in Spanish. The lawyers will just chip into their individual clients, explaining what the lawyer is, what the notary is actually doing. And when the notary is happy that all the documentation is correct, that the buyers and the sellers are happy, he will check your passports, he'll look at your picture, he'll look at you to make sure you are the people that are selling and buying the property. And then the house papers then will be handed out. And the back page is signed by everybody who's concerned with the sale. So the buyers will sign it, the sellers will sign it, the two sets of lawyers will sign it, and the notary will sign it. And once the notary has signed it, the sale is complete. The money is in the vendor's accounts, and the keys are passed across the table to the buyers. And that really is it. We'll hang around at the notary just for a couple of minutes when we are finished, just because we'd like to get an actual physical copy of the new escritura, the new house deeds, the papers. And it means that the buyers of the property will leave some with the paperwork in their hands. The vendors will have a copy of the deeds, which really is a receipt to show where the money has come from, because there's obviously going to be a large amount of money deposited in their bank account, and the deeds will show that. And that really is it. The house sale is completed. The buyers and sellers can shake hands and jump in their cars and get on with their lives. And do whatever they intend to do. So that's just a quick behind the scenes look, because it's something that you'll only go through when you're buying and selling a property, and we just thought it was a good idea to sort of ease people's nerves so that they're not worried, because it's actually quite a fun thing to do. So that's it for this week's episode. Really quite a simple episode, not a lot of editing required from my behalf. If you have any questions or queries, please feel free to drop me a line. My details will be on the screen at the moment. We'll have another episode for you in a couple of weeks' time. But until then, adios and have a great day.